Daniel Davis is a senior fellow at Defense Priorities, an American foreign policy think tank. He joins me now from Washington, D.C. He's also a retired lieutenant colonel. Welcome to Al Jazeera. So Syria's 13-year war appears to have restarted, apparently after Assad's allies, Iran and Russia, let their guard down. Assad says the fighters want to redraw the regional maps. How true is that claim?
Well, certainly the claim is true. That's definitely what they want to do. And this is, not something that came on the spur of the moment. The HTS and several of their allies have been really preparing for this, I think, really since in one form or another, since 2020. And then now things have accelerated. And definitely the situation with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran being severely degraded by the Israeli side, no doubt had a lot to do with that, with the timing of it. But really, I think that there's no doubt that the biggest problem with all this from the Syrian side is the Syrian side, because they lost focus on it. Their intelligence apparatus was apparently caught unawares. In some regards, this was similar to how Hamas surprised Israel on October 7th. The Syrian side was caught completely off guard, which is really quite shocking that they were caught off guard on something so close to the front lines. But that does appear to be what happened.
Yeah, it appears the speed was very much of the essence. In parallel to these opposition forces taking the city of Aleppo, there are reports also of Turkish-backed forces taking at least a dozen Kurdish Syrian towns after battles with the YPG, the Kurdish fighters there. Can you explain to our viewers what's going on here and how it relates to the wider assault on Assad-controlled territory?
Yeah, what we don't have enough information yet is to find out how much on the Turkish side is a target of opportunity, because they saw what was happening in Aleppo and they took advantage of it with all the chaos to get some of their own national interests taken care of. Or were they actually in cooperation with some of the HTS and some of the other operations there? My guess, based on history, is probably this is more a cooperative issue than just a target of opportunity, because military operations take time to prepare, to get logistics set up, et cetera. So the speed and the timing with which this happened implies that Turkey was involved, or at least knowledgeable to some degree. But it definitely shows a weakening of the Assad regime. And of course, also you have Russia, which has been an ally of Syria for quite some time. It's also distracted by its war in the Russia-Ukraine situation. And so they have less forces there, and they also were not paying as much attention, because one would have imagined that they too would have had their intelligence apparatuses tracking all the situations, since they have a lot of incentive to make sure Assad doesn't fall.
How much do you think that Russia and indeed Iran and indeed the US, that has skin in the game here because they're fighting ISIL in Syria, how much do they have by way of bandwidth, capabilities to, particularly for Russia, defend its naval facility in Tarsus? What are the likely scenarios here for those with vested interests in what's happening in Syria?
Well, it is a zero-sum game, really, for all the parties, because everybody has a limited number of resources, of troops, of personnel, money, et cetera, ammunition, all that, and they have to decide where they're going to put it. And Russia has been minimizing its involvement there. Now then they're faced with having to escalate that. They're going to have to bring some of the ammunition that they probably would have used against Ukraine into this. Probably not a whole lot, but some will have to be diverted, because they cannot allow some of the things your previous guest was talking about, the potential advancement of the rebel side. They're going to have to use probably a lot more ordnance than they had planned, so they're going to have to bring that additionally. Turkey, of course, is always wanting to advance its position, and probably has the most opportunity, because they have the least diversions in other areas, whereas, Iran, Syria itself, and Russia, they all have additional things to have to manage elsewhere. So bottom line is this is a whole lot of chaos here, but it's not clear what, the outcome at some point, whether it's Israel or the United States, for example. They may not like Bashar al-Assad, but, if these al-Qaeda-backed groups were to overthrow him, it's not clear at all that something better would come in its place for their interests.
And who knows what a potential power vacuum could mean for the country. Daniel Davis, good to hear your thoughts. Many thanks for joining us.